and everybody feels pretty good about it. So,
all right, thanks, Mike. So I can tell you, as Mike mentioned, we did prevent that one hiccup with the turf. We don't have any other supply issues that they're overly concerned with. Any of the long lead items are underway, so they should be here well before they're needed. I know Nick was going to ask this question. So we are $1.655 million expended as of 12/31/24 out of a $5 million project, which is 33%. But we are about 50% done in time. As far as if you take 3 months or a 6-month project, we're about halfway done. However, a couple of very large ticket items are on the backside of that, the turf being one of them, which is just over $1 million. So if you drop that number back down again and take that whole turf out and look at the rest of the project itself, we're about a little over 40% done, and we've got 2 items well underway: the dugouts and the backstop, which are another. While they've been prorated as far as some of the work that they've done, those will be coming online this month, and that'll drop another big couple of ticket items in there. Which at that point in time should bring us up to pretty much time expended versus monies expended, excluding the turf. But as Mike mentioned, we are on time. We're on budget. We are just we're at the mercy of Mother Nature. So we're hoping that she'll be kind to us. We got a little bit of weather in our face coming Saturday, Sunday. We've been able to weather each storm so far well. We just need the water, the temperature to warm up a little bit so we can start to see the fact that we don't get any frost in the ground. Frost in the ground will definitely hurt us come time to fine grade and then put the turf down, since the fine grading for the turf itself, it requires 1/8 of an inch over a 10-foot tolerance. So it's very, very flat. It's like a table. You can imagine it's a baseball field. You want it to be flat as a table. So that tolerance won't frost is our enemy. So we're hoping that we get a little bit of warm temperatures. And if we get some warm temperatures, I spoke to the contractor later this afternoon, and he was still confident that he can make that April 1 deadline.
Well, that's the only thing I would remind everybody. April 1 was the deadline that we are working towards. There's actually even a little wiggle room with that when it comes to the varsity season for baseball, at least, or even the heavy use of these fields really comes after the high school spring break. So there's another 2 weeks in there. I think that's a bit of a buffer. And if there was an issue where, and I've spoken to Jay about this, where, you know, we needed to have the first couple of home games, obviously we could use Meade for that.
Questions for Mike or Tiger?
Is the EPDM rubber made from recycled materials?
No, it's virgin.
No.
That's the whole point of it. It's only made for this purpose.
Right. It's similar to everything, the turf or the infill that we have on all of our other turf fields. And we had the DEP come down, and when they had the original scare a number of years ago with turf, and we passed their criteria. So we've been using EPDM ever since.
Tiger, what's the temperature below which you can't work?
There isn't, to be honest with you. Right now, we're tenting for the backstop and the dugouts to try to maintain an ambient temperature inside of 40 and rising for the men to work and for the concrete work. So there really isn't. Just comes down to the measures that you have to take, and those winter operations will cost money moving forward. So that's the only thing that we have. Like I said, the only problem that we have is whether or not it rains and then we get some frost or deeper frost in the ground, and we can't necessarily battle that. We can't blanket the entire field to try to keep it warm. That's not possible. So that's our only deterrent. Right now we're able to work. They're able to work every day. It's just going forward, we'll have a go, no go sometime in mid to late February.
I have a question. I mean, I'm sure you've built some of that into the schedule. It will rain. We will have a frost. It will get cold. Something will happen. But, on the flip side, obviously, it warms up as well. So there's enough cushion, I assume, between the workload and the elapsed time and the value time. How about that? Between now and call it February 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. There's enough opportunity for some of those natural things to happen and still have time to do the work that's needed? That's a question.
That's correct.
Okay.
Sorry,
That's your 2-week buffer you're talking about?
approximately.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
also the season could start on April 15th.
15.
Like that's the 2-week buffer that I was referring to.
Oh, okay, so it's April, past April 1.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
And there are also alternatives too, as far as focusing just on the turf, not on the appurtenances around it, to make sure that we can get on the turf and use the dugouts and the backstop, but the rest of the work on the outside, turf establishment, things of that nature, walkways, all the rest of the things that we're going to be put in could be put in later, so we could focus on the turf and the install on the turf without working on the rest of the the surrounds of the field, just working on the field itself.
Mike, a little premature, but I'm assuming when it gets closer, you'll do some kind of opening day, whether it's literally opening day or, at the appropriate time. Is there anything?
Oh,
any thoughts?
absolutely.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. No, there will be some kind of event to plan, I'm sure. And I'll do that in conjunction with McKenna Baseball and the rest of the community.
Yeah, good. Okay. Other questions for Tiger or Mike on the ball field?
Quick, the change orders that were necessary, what were those related to?
Tiger, what were those?
We had some additional work required around fencing off the areas surrounding the detention system, some additional measures for sedimentation and erosion control measures. Those were in essence, some were workplace ones to try to prevent people from coming into the project, and then we had some inordinate amounts of rain that we had to take care of a couple of month ago, whereby we had to install some additional measures that the site engineer from Accord required.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, very good. Mike, thanks for coming in. Appreciate this update. Great
Absolutely.
work.
I love coming.
One of these.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Josh, is Josh there or is he online only? Okay. Josh is coming up. We got 3 or 4 things to cover, but Deanna, did you want to just provide any overview or anything you want to catch us up on before we dive into the finance?
We're still sort of going through. We've had one day of presentations from a variety of the different departments on the budgets. There hasn't been really any, it's really been a presentation to the Board of Selectmen. It's going well. We still have work to do. So I think all in, shoot, I didn't bring my budget book today, but I think we're at like 3.14 all in, but then that excluded the Board of Ed or something. So the Board of Ed was coming in at like 4.5, 4 or 6. So we got some work to do.
Okay. All right, Josh, again, thanks for the great update. And it looks like it's goodness and good news. So I'll call it an excellent update.
I would agree. Let me just share my screen. Okay. So on your tablets and in front of you, you have the year-to-date financials as of December 31st, so the halfway point of the year. Starting at the revenues, we are at about 61% of overall revenues, leading off obviously by tax collections, which are at 60%, leading into the second round of collections in January. Those are starting to trickle in. Collections at this point last year was also at about 61%. Down to building permits, they are at 88.5%. That's 750 of the 850,000 budgeted, up last year by about 250,000. The big kind of push from this past month or so was the Burtis and Cherry development that's going on, which had about $150,000 permit come through. Conveyance fees are also running better than they were last year at 80%. 1.2 million of the 1.5. So that's up about 318 over last year. And a lot of that, about 175,000 or so, is due to the Riverwood transaction that took place. Parking is at 82%. At the halfway point, meters are at about halfway point. Permits are doing better than they were last year, and that they're at 480 of 400,000 that was budgeted, and tickets also are at about 50%. Interest on investments, about 59% or 1.1 of the 2 million over last year by over 436,000. Tipping fees are doing well. They're at 51%, pretty much on pace with last year. Other revenues are at about 88%, 3.4 of the 5 million budgeted. Any questions on the revenue side of things?
Anyone have any questions? I mean, obviously, observations are, those are really strong numbers here at this point in the year. For,
I have one
Yeah, go ahead.
question. Just the other revenues, it's a good sized number. What's like the biggest individual item in there?
Well, the biggest one traditionally is, and is the case now, the unrealized gain and loss. Also, the state property rebate is, we got in 101,000, whereas we budget about 28,000. And we budget that just based off the number we get from the governor's budget for the state. And, you know, for the past few years, we've come in at about 101,000 for that. Rental property and member equity, we've also gotten as well. Those are kind of the highest ones in terms of favorable. The highest number wise, there's about 2.7 million in operating transfers in from bond premium and the dog fund as well. And
So
also,
an unrealized gain loss that's on our short-term investments, right? Because we've got a few series of treasuries that are longer than a year. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any items you're expecting to continue this trend through year end and exceed materially?
I think most of like building permits, conveyance fees, we're trending well, even without the kind of one-time bumps that they got. They were trending probably a little bit ahead of last year, and then got that little extra push. I don't know if we can expect any other extra little bumps as we go, maybe, but I think building permits and conveyance fees, kind of those like shoulder months, were stronger than they had been traditionally, and so maybe that'll continue in the springtime when they kind of come back.
Okay.
And when do we find out about the excess cost grants? Is that really at the very end of the process?
Usually, I think May is when the last payment
Yeah.
comes in. So, yeah.
So this number
It's waiting.
is a placeholder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we get less than budgeted last year here on that one, Josh?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
we
what I
did.
thought.
And I forget which year they're recalculating that. They're looking into it. Hartford's looking into it, and I forget which year they're actually going to implement changes. I don't know if it's 26 or later.
Any other questions on revenues? A good start. It's a good way to look at it.
No, it's a very good start. On to the expenditure side, just the overall expenditures are pretty similar to where they were last year. It's at 43.75%. Last year we were at about 45%. So it's pretty much on pace with where we expect to be and coming in on budget.
Any watch outs? I had one thing circled. On the first page, the insurance liability, is that seasonal? 65, we're at 65% of the budget already. Is that, I just couldn't remember if that particular item was seasonal in some way or front loaded.
On the first,
It's right there,
liability.
right there.
It's the 6 from the bottom.
Wait, is
where are you?
it's right here.
It's almost 65% at this point, just a click ahead of the rest of the.
Let's take a look. Right here.
Well, I'm just wondering if there's a,
Prepaid or is that actuals?
Yeah, I mean, for Kerma is at 98% right now.
encumbrances are in there.
Yeah.
It's encumbrances, so at the beginning of the year, we know what, there's ones that are quarterly payments, et cetera. So they
Mhm.
encumber for the beginning of the year. So some accounts can look like they're almost 100% expense because you have the actual encumbrance and then what's remaining. So
Okay.
that's what's in that one.
Yep.
All right, good answer. Anything though, Josh or Ann, as a watch out? Eyeballing it, it all looked pretty much on track, but just from your point of view, anything we should be concerned about?
What
No.
about IT? It's up 34% versus last year.
We hired somebody new.
Is that what
We
it
added
was?
an extra staff member.
Okay. And that's the main driver there. Okay.
This is a bit over compared to being at you 6 months in, 61%. Second from the bottom, the first page.
No,
Where's that one?
shouldn't be over.
EMS.
Yeah, I'm at 61%.
Because do we pay, is this part of where we pay Norwalk Hospital and you
No,
probably,
there are probably encumbrances. That's what I'm
Yeah.
wondering. I'm just trying to find
the
myself.
salary of we have a
It's only up,
full-time.
it's only up 2.4% versus
Yeah,
last
it is
year.
It's definitely the encumbrance.
It's the encumbrance
again.
for the paramedics. If you look
Yeah.
on the very top line, yeah, it's 193,000 that was
There you go.
encumbered. So it
Okay.
brought it in. So you have those contracted amounts that are encumbered from day one.
Mhm.
So we keep them in place.
Overall, it looks pretty strong. Any questions from the committee? Chris or anybody? Nick?
Nope.
Nope.
I'm good.
Okay. Ian or Josh, anything else you want to shout out here?
Not here. I do have a couple transfers for you. though.
Yeah, let's do those. That's next.
I only have 5 or so transfers for you to review, just from a couple various departments, totaling 40,885.
Mhm.
Kind of one of the standouts here being capital projects on the Board of Ed side, transferring money from the Saks bathroom partition project, which I don't believe is going to actually take place, to a maintenance vehicle replacement, which is
That's the
needs some of that funding.
review. This is approval.
That's to review. And then I do have a few items for you to approve. That is 11,000 from salary contingency to the salary OT line in the Parks and Rec admin. That was to cover kind of a parking officer stopping by some of the parks on the weekends, I believe at night. So
During the
And
some weekends
after
or morning,
hours.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a park ranger.
wasn't originally budgeted.
There is also $44,002.30 from salary contingencies to the accrued benefits payout line in highway. We had a couple retirements there. So we're kind of just bringing that up, making that account whole. $14,286.02 from the contingency line to the volunteer tax abatement line, because we had, I guess, more than anticipated for this year. 117,000.
That's for the volunteer firemen, right?
$117,089.44 from the regular contingency line to cover storm expenses from the recent storm. I think it was August.
18th.
September 8th.
18.
August
Oh,
18th,
you remember.
there you go.
FEMA meeting today.
And lastly, 40,000 coming from the workers' compensation line into the deductibles heart and hypertension line.
Any questions from the committee on these transfers? Really coming out of contingency for really all of them, but the last one.
Yep.
Yep. If not, we can have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Chris, second, please.
Second.
Was that Victor?
Vector.
Okay, all in favor of the transfers?
Aye.
Opposed, none? Okay. Thank you for that. And I did want to just take a minute to make sure everybody was up to speed on the schedule for the budget. So Josh, if you can, or Tucker, pull that schedule up.
I can probably
Just-
just,
I just want to take a minute, starting on the 6th. It's pretty self-explanatory, but just to make sure, I don't know, Ann or Josh, you just want to step through the individual pieces that we're covering and make sure there aren't any questions. Pretty comprehensive as always.
the pieces, it's just, you don't want me to go department by department.
Well, we just have just walking through, make sure everybody understands, and it really syncs up with the committee conversation as well, right? So Health and Human Services, Library, you do an overview, you all do an overview usually of the budget, right, for that first day. The 11th, of course, is the Board of Ed night. We don't do anything else that night other than the Board of Ed. And so we will, we'll spend time on that. Yeah, I just wanted you to step through, make sure we cover everything. Tiger in particular, like Parks and Rec. Where's Park and Rec? Is that
Sorry,
under
that's
recreation? That's, yeah,
It's Thursday, the 13th.
13th,
is
yep.
Parks and Rec and
Tiger night.
DPW Capital, which makes sense since Parks Capital kind of falls into there as well. The following meeting, the 25th, Tuesday, is EMS and emergency management, as well as fire police.
It's fire and safety, and I have to say that one in particular, I just want to make sure those are tight time frames. I don't know that can we do fire in 30 minutes and police in 30 minutes? Just that looked tight.
I think it'll be close, but all other capital is probably not a huge group outside of, I'll have some general gov capital, DPW will have their own, and Board of Ed will have their own.
Mhm.
Outside fire, police, and OEM, I'm not sure how many other departments have capital really, probably none. So if that 8:30 to 9:30 gets absorbed into that, I think probably will be fine.
Okay, so Public Work, Tiger, you'll have all your capital that night on the 13th. So we don't even have Public Works that night. Is that what you're saying? Okay, that makes a difference.
Dion, anything in fire and police that gave you pause that they submitted?
I haven't, no.
As far as the timing goes, this is Tucker Todd. As far as the timing goes, all the department heads have seen this schedule and think
Yep.
that the times are estimates. And the only thing that I would also mention is that, we definitely broke out. So we have the public hearing on March 4th
Mhm.
and then with the vote 2 days later.
Right. No, that's all good and normal.
And also the 27th includes another review for capital, another half hour or so.
Yep. WPCA is the 27th. Is that, I just get chopped off there. I assume that's what that is.
No, that's Waverly Park Service.
Oh, so what's you say sewer follow-up then? What's,
The annual.
I can't hear you. Is that you, Tucker? We can't hear you.
It's Waveney Park Conservancy.
Okay. All right. So we don't do the WPC, I guess, really till May. If we keep going on this on the schedule, I guess, right then? Yeah. All right.
And then Thursday, the 6th is the vote.
Okay.
And after that, town
Just
council.
remind everybody, before you go there, this is the voting of the budget, not of the mill rate. Everybody knows this, but we do have some new members. That's why I wanted to put this up here, just to make sure everybody was on the same page. We'll be approving a budget amount that goes to the town council. They do their meetings and reviews. Then we get it back, the budget back in April. And as you all know from prior years, we try to do the mill rate as late as we can so that we have all the facts on the table on everything. Cost, we just talked about one of them, the cost sharing grant. So there's all kinds of things like that. Healthcare, some of those late breaking items are really important for us. So we'll do the mill rate in the June meeting. Right, Tucker? Any questions there?
Yeah, I have a question. So last year, we approved the budget in the March 6th meeting. And then the town council got it and they made some material changes. So is there, after the town council deliberates on it, is there a process to sort of refute or revisit the changes that the town council made, or is it just the town council has the final say?
As you know, they can cut the budget, they can't add anything to the budget. Right?
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they can't add anything, they can only cut.
But once they've cut, we can't go back and change it. So what's done is done at the town council level.
Referendum is the only
Yeah.
potential change.
Short of an
Okay.
appropriation later. on in
Last
the
year was, yeah, you're right. There were a few surprises.
Josh made a good point. You know, you could do a special appropriation later in the year if you really thought they had gotten that on.
Or if there was something that came up, or, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
circumstances
exactly.
change, of course, yeah. Which also needs to be approved by the town council.
That's not a game you want to play.
That's right. No, we don't need to. We've done
That's
it
a
right
good,
and
that's a good
well.
point. No, we have a
for
great
years.
There's a
relationship.
winning proposal.
It's been right and well done for years. This is the process. So I just want to make sure the new members had it. Everybody was on board with it. We'll get our books in a couple of weeks and we'll be off and running. Any questions?
Nope.
Steve or anybody? Nick? Okay. All right. Okay, that's good for that. And I think the last item is subcommittees. I don't know if you want to bring the spreadsheet up or not. That may not be easy to do. I guess this is the easiest thing to do. We have a couple of openings. We also had 2 resignations that caused some of the openings. We all know Colum and
Tom.
Yeah, no, I know. Our MVP. I was just saying, we've got Steve as a replacement, and we still have an opening for to replace for Colum. So with those 2 out, we've got some openings. A few of you have sent me some notes. I'm going to review where we are, and then what I don't necessarily need anybody to sign up for anything new tonight unless you want to, but we do need to get this all closed out by tomorrow or Thursday. Victor has offered to be on the Health and Human Services subcommittee. So Tucker, we're gonna, unless there's any, Victor, as long as you're still up for it, I'd like to appoint you to that.
Yeah, that works.
All right. And Nick has asked to be on Public Safety Emergency Services. So again, unless there's any objections, we'll do that. Steve, we talked about you being on the RPAC. Was there a question there, Bob, on RPAC?
No, I wasn't listed, but back in October, you had put me
Okay.
on there. I just wasn't on there on the sheet originally. Now I am.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, then maybe we don't have an opening there.
We don't.
You do.
No,
There's 2 TBDs on there.
There's 2 TBDs.
James, Bob, Steve, and Chris.
So now you have Steve. Okay, so Steve is for sure.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay. So I have 1 opening for general government, if I've got this correct,
Mm-hmm.
and 1 for infra and utilities, public works.
Library.
I'm not sure about the library because I was here in 2 places. We have
I think I'm on the library.
James and Chris are on the library, so we don't need any more live people in the library.
2's enough.
2's enough. So I think that's what we're looking for: general government and infra.
You only have one person on Public Works.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what
And
I'm saying. That's
I
infrastructure, utilities, and public works. That's the
Yeah, I
one.
served on that when I first came on the board, and it was extremely useful committee to be on because so much of the town's expenses and some of the nitty gritty goes on there. So it's a great training ground for
we have-
anybody who'd like to sit on that.
Yeah, I don't think you're volunteering, right, Chris?
No, I've done it. I would do it again,
I'll
but
volunteer.
It sounded so good, I was sold. Look,
go.
I know we have Jan, alternates can be on these committees.
yeah, absolutely.
Steve just offered up to serve on that as well.
Yeah, and I'll serve on that as well if you need.
great.
Yeah, James, I was gonna suggest you step off that we have too many on the Board of Ed. So if you're willing to do that, I think that'd be
Yeah.
great. Okay.
Yeah, I think I might have
Okay.
indicated that. I'd step off and
Yep.
that should free me up to be on
Perfect.
something else.
Tucker, do I have anything else other than general government then? That's still an opening.
No, I think you're whole.
That's what I
We,
thought.
we don't have anything for Jan.
Jan could do general government if you want to.
That's fine.
That
Okay.
would be terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Problems all solved. Excellent. Okay, all right. Team,
I'll
anything
send
else?
the clean
Tucker?
version of this out tomorrow for everybody.
Yeah, that'd
just
be
to-
great.
Yeah, great.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Okay, I think that's, Tucker, that's it, unless you had anything else.
Yeah, to that point, I just wanted to remind, especially for the new members, the point of the subcommittees is that you will meet along with your town council counterparts. They will start before you all, and I mean, they're eager to get going. You all are going to see the budget for them. So if you could just get together, I guess what we would still need to determine is who's going to be sort of the point person for each subcommittee to work with the town council point person. And that at that point, you would schedule the review meetings, the liaison, which all must be noticed. They have to have agendas, they have to have minutes taken, that kind of thing. I can help with all of that. But just make sure that if you could just tell me who that point person's going to be, and then the town council will work with you to get those meetings scheduled.
And they happen after the Board of Selectmen votes
Correct.
on the approved budget.
That's right. Okay, any other
But
items?
I have one item that Tucker reminded me that I didn't
Sure.
mention in my update, which is a good happy news story. So I'd like to end on a happy note. On December 27th, we finally received the $2 million from the state of Connecticut for the Playhouse grant. So it is in our coffers. So
Well
that's
done.
exciting. And kudos to Greg Riley, who is no longer here. Tucker, Finance Department, and and it was no government money is not free. It was a lot of work, a lot of painstaking work. So thank you to everybody who just kept at it because it was painful. And then the other exciting news is that the Playhouse, and this really goes to Bill Osman and Tiger and the team that really helped with the Cinema Labs team in the revitalization of that project. They won at the the International Cinema Association Best Reconstruction Project. So it's exciting.
I think it was the best refurbishment
Yes.
of an existing theater,
Yep.
something like
Has
that.
that been-
It was a great achievement. So,
I don't know. Did it get disseminated to the press? I think Cinema Labs has been. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
hey, one last thing, and do you know anything about this, Deanna, on the federal funds for the rebedding? And maybe Tiger's heard something about the rebedding of the water treatment plant. We were talking about that.
So
back-
I can give you an update on that. So we won't hear anything until there's an approved federal budget. You know, we would continue, have these continuing resolutions for the federal budget. So until there's an actual approval in Washington of a budget, we're not going to see any of that. So let's hope that once everything's kind of reseated, that we actually get a US budget going.
Okay,
And then maybe we'll get our grant. So,
okay.
but it was promoted and it made it through the congressman's office. So.
Okay. All right. Just one last item on the Board of Ed liaison, Chris, and for the members on that liaison committee, I will be on point for getting the meeting set up later this month, and we'll work with town council, of course, and with Brian's office, but I'll take care of that one. Okay. If there's nothing else, I'll have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All right. Motion, Maria, second. Didn't hear a second.
This is a true record.
Nick.
37.
Nick, okay. All in favor?
38 minutes.
38, maybe not a record, Chris, but it's in the top 5. All right, so moved. Thank you, everybody. All right, we
All
look
right.
forward to a busy February. Thanks for all your help in advance.
All righty, see ya.